It's a Victory Tuesday here on Philadelphia Eagles Now, and coming up on today's show, should the Birds sign linebacker Darius Leonard after he was just surprisingly released by the Indianapolis Colts? Also, some Eagles news and analysis following that epic comeback win, getting revenge on the Kansas City Chiefs. Before we dive into all of this, though, what a night we had here on Eagles Now. Our Eagles-Chiefs watch party, one of the most viewed videos in the history of chat sports, and certainly right here on the program. Thank you to the 229,000 people worldwide who joined us. And if you want Eagles content every single day like this and our watch parties, hit that subscribe button. We're back on Sunday against the Buffalo Bills. Before we take a look at all of this Eagles analysis and discuss Darius Leonard, Shaq Leonard, otherwise known as Eagles Now, is presented by True Classic. And look, the holiday season is here. That means one thing. It's time to break out our favorite jeans, t-shirts, and sweaters from True Classic. On today's show, I'm rocking one of their polos, but True Classic's ultra comfortable, perfect fitting essentials make for the perfect gift for the fellas in your life, or you can just gift something for yourself. Everything they make crafted with premium fabrics to help you look and feel great. And for the Bird Gang out there, how about this? For a limited time only, this November, they're giving our listeners, our viewers, a special Black Friday deal all month long. Up to 60% off site-wide at trueclassictees.com/chatsports. When it comes to sweatshirts, these golf polos, their hoodies, crews, everything from True Classic, becoming your closet essentials. So, you see the link at the bottom of your screen, trueclassic.com/chatsports, up to 60% site-wide. Get hooked up, get swagged up, and look fresh during this fall weather season, especially with some of these hoodies here, because I absolutely love hoodie weather. So Shaq Leonard, Darius Leonard, just released by the Indianapolis Colts. A very surprising move here, and now he's going to go on waivers, and a team that has playoff championship aspirations has an opportunity to pick up a team captain and a player who's been very well accomplished in this league. Of note here, and let me say that again, he does have to go through waivers, but Albert Breer, NFL Insider, said that the Philadelphia Eagles, Buffalo Bills, two teams to kind of look at here in need of some linebackers. Linebacker is a notable position that the Eagles are somewhat thin at after Nakobe Dean went on IR. I got to say this, though. Nicholas Morrow and Zach Cunningham have played really good ball this year. You have them for very cheap and affordable prices, so do you want to take them off the field and guarantee Leonard a role, because he might be frustrated if he doesn't get a role, because that's why he was frustrated with Indianapolis, because somehow he was falling down the depth chart in Indy. As I said, very accomplished player here and a monster name. A couple of years ago, he was made the highest paid off-ball linebacker in the NFL, overtaking Fred Warner's salary during the 2021 offseason. Four-time All-Pro helped him earn the bag, as well as making it to Pro Bowls in all of those seasons. But injuries and a slippage in play the last 2 years, that's what concerns me. 3 games played in 2022, 9 games this year, but he's shown his age a little bit. He is 28 years old. What's curious here is that after he started his career with 7, 5, and 3 sacks, none since then. This year, active making tackles as he always has been, 65 of them, but he hasn't really been making impactful plays for Shane Steichen's Colts. 0 pass breakups, 0 forced fumbles, 0 sacks, and only 2 tackles for loss. I know that he's an off-ball coverage linebacker. That's what the Eagles need here. But when you compare his impact on his team as an off-ball linebacker who's highly paid to what Fred Warner does with the San Francisco 49ers, it's really not even close. Another interesting element of this conversation is the fact that his familiarity with Nick Sirianni has a relationship brewing here potentially between Leonard as well as the Philadelphia Eagles, because when Sirianni was there, that's when Leonard was playing his best football. $6 million owed to him. The Colts have already paid and are going to eat some of that salary. Has to pass through waivers, so we will certainly see what happens with him, but certainly an interesting thing to think about with Leonard. So should the Eagles sign him? S for sign, W for you think he's washed. I tend to side with the latter here of him being somewhat washed, because he hasn't played good football for the last couple of years. Now let's discuss this Eagles victory over the Kansas City Chiefs. No team had gone into Arrowhead down by 10 and beaten Patrick Mahomes before. Eagles did that, and offensively, they probably played their C+, B- game. B-, I think, is just being way too overly complimentary, right? But you think about how the Eagles won this game. Sometimes it just comes down to the nuances of football. The Chiefs had more passing yards, more rushing yards, more plays, more yards per play. They were better on third downs, as we talked about during the watch party. Fewer penalty yards, more time of possession. But they turned it over twice to the Eagles. One turnover on that Jalen Hurts interception. And sometimes when there is a matchup between two great teams like this, it is decided by the skinniest of margins. And those margins favored with Philadelphia. Kevin Byard, interception. How about Bradley Roby punching the football out from Travis Kelce? 2 red zone picks for the Chiefs. And that was huge in this football game. And you got to give a shout out here to this defense as well as defensive coordinator Sean Desai. The defense pitching a second half shutout against Mahomes. I know the weapons are down. I know that there were a lot of drops. That is massive. And Sean Desai is turning out to be a upper echelon defensive coordinator for head coach Nick Sirianni, as he once again seems to have made a great coordinator hire, just like he did with Shane Steichen and, to some people, Jonathan Gannon. The Eagles over the last month held the best offense in the NFL, the Dolphins, to 17 points and a season-low 244 yards. They held the best quarterback in the NFL, Patrick Mahomes, to 4.1 yards per attempt. He threw it, 43 times? 4.1 yards per attempt. Think about how hard that is. That's the fewest in Mahomes' career. And this makes you relish, this makes you enjoy the post-Jonathan Gannon era. My boy Jack Fritz, 94 WIP, shout out to him. He made a good point. Eagles don't win this game if Jonathan Gannon was their defensive coordinator, because he's not making the adjustments that the Eagles made at recess in the third and fourth quarter to completely halt, stop, and really confuse that Chiefs offensive attack. Jonathan Gannon sucked at mid-game and in-game adjustments. That is where Sean Desai has separated himself. That's where he's thrived this year, and it's not just this Kansas City game. He's been doing it all year, and he's found a way with this patchwork secondary that finally against the Chiefs, that was the starting secondary with Kevin Byard, Reed Blankenship, and then Bradley Roby, Darius Slay, and James Bradbury as your corners. We finally got to see what that Eagles secondary could do at full strength, and I thought they played good ball. More notes here. Eagles offensive line and the defensive line, I thought got manhandled in the first half. But as part of the adjustments that we're talking about with Desai, you can spread that out to the rest of the team. Because even though the Eagles were getting crushed in the trenches in that first half, 5 sacks given up against the Chiefs. The Chiefs were running it right down their throats, right? Eagles ended that game with their offensive line and their defensive line being one of the differences in this ball game. And their talent, their strength, their physicality won over throughout the course of a 60-minute ball game. Speaking of the interior, Jalen Carter, awesome. That Chiefs offensive line, we talked about it in the lead up to this game. One of the best in the National Football League. A lot of really good players there. Joe Thuney, Creed Humphrey, and others. And Jalen Carter was able to push the pocket. He was able to get Patrick Mahomes off of his spot. He was able to make plays against the run. The kid looks to be a stud. Speaking of studs, Haason Reddick. This stretch that he's been on is very elite. And now, if he continues to stay healthy, this is going to be 4 straight years for Haason Reddick of having 10-plus sacks. Most sacks since 2020, including the playoffs, upper tier for Reddick. And he's up there with some of the best edge rushers in the game. He is this Eagles closer. Last night, he was their tone setter, first drive, sacked Patrick Mahomes. He didn't get sacked at all of Super Bowl 57, made some plays against the run, and he's continued to become a more all-around player. And then I thought an underrated play in that game was when Mahomes, I think, was pushed off his spot by Jalen Carter, drifted to his left. Reddick, he played quarterback spy the entire time. He saw Mahomes jet to his left. He jetted to his right, got in his face, altered the throw. Zach Cunningham with that pass breakup. But most sacks since 2020, Myles Garrett, 58. TJ Watt, 55.5. Haason Reddick, 51.5. That's more than Nick Bosa at 43.5, and then Trey Hendrickson at 48.5. The defense saved the game for Philadelphia. A second-half shutout. And this is complimentary football right here, ladies and gentlemen. When your offense doesn't bring it and doesn't play their A game like they had the previous two against Washington and against Dallas for the most part, it was the defense that closed the deal. Love what Haason Reddick had to say after the game. Quote, "We are relentless. We are dogs at the end of the day. We preach dog mentality." I mentioned Bradley Roby. He played pretty well out of the slot. And then Kevin Byard, his best game as a Philadelphia Eagle. You saw him look a little bit more acclimated with this defense coming out of the bye week. If you love how resilient this squad is, I need you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video, because that is the Philadelphia way. Underdogs in that game, resilient, tough, never mentally rattled. Got to talk about Jalen Hurts to kind of round out the show here. He is now the betting favorite to win NFL MVP. Hurts at plus 250 odds, ahead of Lamar Jackson, plus 420, Patrick Mahomes at 460, and then Tua Tagovailoa, 5-1 odds. These numbers are pretty insane that we're about to read off, and we have to really appreciate what Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni are doing. We might not ever see a stretch like this from a quarterback head coaching combination for this franchise ever again. That's how elite they've been. Jalen Hurts, now 26-1 in his last 27 starts. And when tied or trailing this year, is Hurts the most clutch quarterback in the NFL? An argument to be made here. He's completing 72% of his passes when down or tied, 1,500 yards, 11 touchdowns, 1 pick, a rating of 113.4, completion rate, second in the NFL, interception rate, second in the NFL, passer rating, first in the NFL. Also, he's running the football as well, making plays when he has to. And I like how he's taking care of his body. Slides, dives, avoiding big hits that he's taken the last couple of years. He's too important to go out. 44 carries, 204 yards, 6 touchdowns. That also leads the NFL. And with this offense, we stick with the offense and the play caller here. Brian Johnson has figured out the Eagles' red zone woes. The Eagles are 15 of 19. That's good for nearly 79% in the red zone over their last 5 games. They went 3 of 3 against the Chiefs. In a game in which you won 21-17, that was one of the differences. And this has been a massive improvement after what was a slow start to the season. For context, the Miami Dolphins, they are the best red zone team in the NFL, converting red zone trips into touchdowns 73.5% of the time. The Eagles, again, nearly 79%, 78.95. Brian Johnson deserves credit for that. Calling a play like a quarterback draw on a third down when the Chiefs sent another one of those all-out blitzes. Really good wrinkle there. The jet sweep to DeAndre Swift, some of the pre-snap motion. Really like how this offense has evolved a little bit. And this next guy that we're about to show you, of course, deserves some credit for that too, Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni, at the end of the day, has said, I am in charge of this Eagles offense. And he's an offensive guy. Now, he doesn't call the plays, and I think that allows him to manage the game a little bit better. He's even admitted as much. But he's helped Brian Johnson come along, in my opinion. And again, surrounding himself with really good coaching staff is why this Eagles team has been so elite. With Sirianni, the Eagles have never had a stretch in franchise history where they went 27-5 in 32 games. The best was 26-5-1, the dynasty years, 1948 to 1950. And Sirianni, who's saying, see ya to Chiefs fans, I love the swagger that he has and the energy that he has, is now the 6th coach since the 1970 merger to lead a team to a 9-1 record in back-to-back years, joining some pretty special company. Tony Dungy, Mike Shanahan, Marv Levy, George Seifert, and Don Shula. Again, got to appreciate what Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts are doing. Another special Eagle season is brewing, and hopefully it ends with a special result and a parade down Broad Street. Because the last time I was at the only parade that's taken place for the Eagles in this city, one of the best days of my life. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Just hit that sub button down below. You also see the link along the bottom of your screen. Thanksgiving coming up on Thursday. I hope all of you are getting set to have a fantastic holiday with your friends and your family members and significant others and loved ones. Safe travels, happy eats. The coverage is going to continue. I'll definitely be doing some at-home videos. I have to stay here at work because I got to be around to cover the NFL, not going back to see the fam, but keep an eye out for more content, and thanks for watching the show today.